그 아이는 말이야. 굉장히 뛰어난 자질을 가졌었어. 특히나 시간에 대한 감각과 적성이 탁월했지. 우리들이 시간 금고에 나선이 박힌 사료를 넣어두었다가 숙제를 전부 마치고 왔을 때 다시 꺼낸 사료에 나선을 뽑을 때 보였던 눈빛이 기억에 남구려. 그러고선 어느 아비도 모르게 시간 금고에 드나들며 써먹다니. 헉 영특했다 생각하지 않는가? 안타깝게도 영특한 아이였을 뿐이었지만.
He certainly does like to talk. I'm probably not going to have him as my secretary that often. Greetings and salutations, everyone. I'm Ekmek. This is Walpurgisnacht. We have to look at the other IDs before we move on completely. Although I probably don't want to use you. I think I actually want to use Lobcore Ego's Lament. So then, Ryoshu's new ID. Faint Aroma and Solitude. Roll a 3-3 on Bang Bang and use Stories That Never Cease occasionally. 2 Sinking Count, 2 Tremor. When inflicting Solitude, if the target already has Solitude or will be inflicted with Solitude, trigger a Tremor Burst instead. Blossoming Fragrance in the Void. Inflict 2 Singing Count, Faint Aroma, and Faint Aroma. Gain 10 petals. At 1+ Bullet Solitude, if the enemy has very little SP, then take a shot. At 0 Solitude, use Stories That Never Cease that has an unopposed attack against a target. Consume 10 SP to reload. Gain petals if the target... Hang on, she's got her Uptie skill at Uptie 1. That's unusual. Gain petals every time an enemy takes singing damage. Petals equal to Faint Aroma every time they take Faint Aroma. Gain 2 petals. It isn't saying anything about her using up her faint petals though. 3-5 to 3-6. On use, if target has 6+ Tremor and Sinking, gain Coin Power. Spend 2 bullets. Oh yeah, that's a Coin Power boost, that is all. If target has Tremor plus Sinking, Coin Power, Bullet Solitude. Singing count 3 Aroma, 3 Aroma. Tremor count, Tremor count. That's actually a pretty decent amount of Tremor count, let's be fair. Bang, bang. Alright, 3-7. Unlock the skill 3, Full Bloom, if target has 6+ Tremor and Coin Power. Okay. Faint Aroma, plus 3 Singing Count, Faint Aroma. Inflict a Tremor, trigger Tremor Burst at the end. Magnificent End. Cannot be reused. 30% damage for all the excess attack weight consumed. Final power +1 for all the Faint Aroma across all targets. Lose all petals on self. Faint Aroma 3. So it's just giving us offense level, nothing fancy outside that. Faint Aroma, Sinking, Tremor. Tremor Burst, Tremor count by 1. Gloom damage equal to Sinking. Bang bang. Raise the coin power. Raise the base power. Enhance the combat passive. At 30+ petals, use Magnificent End. If this unit lost 10% HP, heal 3 HP and 10 SP. When the ally with the fastest speed hits an enemy with Sinking Count, Potency or Count, inflict Tremor, then trigger a Tremor Burst. I honestly want to see what she does if she's backing up Mole Ishmael.
화살 한 발로 꿰뚫을 수 없다면 거기에 총알 6발을 얹어주면 그만이지. 봤나? 에고는 이렇게 다루는 거다, 애송이들.
It was an unremarkable sort of day, if one could call it that, when even the agents of the upper layer had been mobilized to suppress and return Ali Rune to its containment unit. With the control team left hollowed out, the child had been saddled with managing the abnormalities assigned to the department. She's a welfare team agent. Okay. PMPC. As soon as she stepped into the old lady's containment unit, I'm pretty sure we can actually see the old lady right here. Can I don't know what this button does. Yes, okay. Old lady is right here. I guess she has 2 chairs. Unfiltered complaints spilling out of her mouth. All day long she'd been tasked with doing managerial work on Al Rune to extract its ego gear. And she failed. That's been 3 times already, 7 actually by the manager's yardstick, that she'd allowed Ali Rune to escape under her watch, today alone. I don't see how that pink mongrel breaking containment is my fault. It's that dimwit of a manager, must have bled out every scrap of luck because he couldn't resist rubbernecking at the thing every now and then. How are you? That sorrowful child slips out of the containment unit when the work result is bad, and just as readily on a good. It's never content to remain confined. It would much rather wander outside, suffusing the company's musty corridors with the fresh scent of the forest. Things must look quite unfair from where it stands. The amount of colour in the narrator here makes me suspect that this is one of the ones where it's Carmen and we're not just peeking into someone else's managerial notes. And of course, from where the manager stands too. No flower viewing today, just stuck hearing the old hag droning on all day. It's become pitch black, this room. The curse must have seeped into the walls. Been a while since I last did some work here. Dearie, dearie, would you like to hear a story? Whatever. Tales crooned like lullabies, poems too abstract to grasp, ghost stories that make the hair stand on the back of the neck stand straight up. From the stories known to all to the ones known to none, the old lady knows every tale ever told, every single story in existence, every nursery rhyme written for children. It goes without saying that her troves of tales also include the secret stories of other abnormalities. Just a coincidence, perhaps? Or is it inevitability? For the first time, the old lady brought up a tale of an abnormality, an entity that the child knew all too well. Oh, Ali Rune, the lovely one, a doll who yearned to be human. Know something about that rabid thing? A flicker of surprise crossed the child's face as she voices her question, but the answer in all likelihood won't be hers to hear. Of course it's Carmen, if she's calling her child. The old lady, you see, doesn't speak to you. She merely speaks, spinning her tales and making her loneliness known. Its eyes were full of soul. It was adored by people. But every genesis of the spring is to be followed by the passing of autumn. The old lady does no such things as asking. She doesn't respond either. The words that come out of her mouth are not for conversation. Which is why, for all the stories she tells, she can never manage to fill the void of her loneliness. One day the doll was abandoned in a dark forest. Its eyes were stolen by crows lusting for glitter, while its mind, life and heart slowly withered away. Part by part, its pretty porcelain body cracked and shattered. Where its eyes once were, only gaping holes were left. And yet, the doll remained standing in the forest. The cracks and openings on the porcelain were instead filled with a growing bouquet of flowers, and fresh petals fluttered down like tears from the empty holes of its eyes. And then, what happened next? Did it hunt down the crow that pecked its eyes out? Did it cut off its wings? The child knew that no answer would be returned, that she would still get to hear the next part of the story whether or not she invited the old lady to continue. Still, ask she did, as though she were used to such exchanges. Ali Rune, lacking eyes but all-seeing, a human who yearned to be a doll. Born of soil, and to soil it shall return. The old lady directed her gaze at the child, a gaze as hollow as that of Alrione from the story, a black void that seems to meet the child's own eyes. It was almost as though she were interested in hearing what the child would make of the tale. The child's eyebrows cinched together in a scowl. The tale might have found footing had she cared to listen with interest. But this was not for her. She really should have spared herself the trouble of hearing it out, she thought. Lone. Your story's literally odious, needless, empty. But surely that was not the end of the story for the doll. Perhaps the story hit a bit too close to home, or maybe it reminded the child of a certain someone she only remembered in the foggy fragments of her memories. Either way, a cloying loneliness clung to the child as she stepped out of the containment unit. And who the hell are you? Oh, I'm Vera from Information. You're the agent who transferred to the middle layer from the safety team, right? Ryoshu. Right, Ryoshu. I've heard quite a bit about you. What do you want? I came down here because Mr. Yesod gave the order for support. There was no one in the control team. Anyhow, I thought I smelled something burning in the lobby and... Yep, I see you altered your ego into a cigarette. Not an issue, I guess, so long as it's not a fire. The employee extended her hand for a handshake, but the child slapped it away like a high five and moved toward the hallways, only to be stopped by the flustered employee blocking her path. Please, just a moment. Please wait here until the control team arrives. And why should I do that? You missed the announcement, I take it. The Dusk of Amber will begin shortly. And during the Dusk of Amber, the effectiveness of that is, physical attack, is doubled. Doubled? That multiplier nonsense you people like to play with, Correct. Ryoshu, your ego weapons are both white type. I recommend either switching weapons or leave this to the other agents. You're NSFP. Pardon? You're not seeing the full picture. The child brushed past the employee and walked into the corridor with light steps. Look closely, MB. If switching ego gear is what allows us to double the efficiency, all I need to do is use both of my weapons at once instead. What? I'll show you the collaboration of FAS. A gigantic worm burst into the hallway. As the ordeal entity advanced slowly, yet not without momentum, the child raised her crossbow and took aim. The employee, who frantically chased after the child, watched the bolt flying from the crossbow. And in the same breath, the child's revolver fired 6 rounds at the ordeal at a speed too fast for the eye to track. Was that not enough? That's why I told you to either switch weapons or wait! Look, it's not too late to go back and... Well, more shots should do the trick then. 1 shot, then 2, then a 3rd. Bolts and bullets rained down on the ordeals, until they burst like squashed fruit. And another bolt loosed at point-blank range punched straight through the largest of them, the dusk itself. Not a dull end to wrap up a day. Wait, why are you aiming that thing at me? The child, perhaps, had managed to reshape the loneliness that latched onto her into artistry of her own, because she no longer seemed lonely at all, as she emptied her gun on the horrified employee. I guess she panicked and went murder type. Alright, we uptie it once more, raise the coin power cap to 2, gain base power, inflict more tremor, coin power cap to 2, deal extra damage for faint aroma, inflict 3 singing count. Coin power cap raised to 2, deal damage for faint aroma, deal gloom damage equal to sinking, which isn't here at the moment. It doesn't seem to have her enhanced skill here though. And change her evade to gloom type. Gotcha. 0 defense level, +3 defense level. Okay. So we have Lobotomy Ego Hornet. At the moment, warning shot, inflict burn and bleed, and spend spore round base. Spend spore buckshot to inflict burn count and bleed count, and the third coin does nothing. One hits that spent spore round, inflict 2 spores or 3 spores, and inflict the negative effects with a skill. Before coin use of a spore that spends buckshot. If we don't have buckshot, then consume 2 SP and spore round base to gain 1 round of buckshot. Okay, if this unit runs out of spore round mid-skill, cancel all subsequent coins, reload germination. When targets with spores are killed, gain loyalty pheromones. And reload on his evade. Okay. Also heal 10 HP. So raises speed from 3 to 6 to 3 to 7. Inflict pierce fragility at max spore round base. If target has 6 plus burn and bleed, coin power +1. 7% more damage for every 5 spore on the target. So we're going to actually get that by the time we reach our third coin if we're lucky. Inflict 1 burn count, inflict 2 bleed count. On kill against targets with spore, inflict double spore next turn. Alright, raises speed range from 3 to 7 to 4 to 8. Nice. Field test, Dust Spark. Deal 5% more damage for every spore on target, gain coin power to a maximum of 2. Reload germination at the end of the attack. Spend a spore round base on the target. Spend a spore round base on the target. I guess these other ones saying prioritize main target will get... It will still go off even if the main target is dead, is what it's saying. Unbreakable coin. Deal less damage against sub-targets. If target's spore is at max stack. Base, 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 buckshot. 2, 2, 2, 3. So that's 9 spore. We've actually got a decent chance of seeing max stack. Burn potency spore stack has wrath damage rounded down. Deal wrath damage counts as a burn. Lose a burn count. Inflict a burn count and a bleed count. So it actually, as long as you're not at 1 burn count, it should stabilize. Raise the coin power on the skill 1, raise the coin power on the skill 2, gain a support passive, ally pierce base attack skill end, twice per encounter, heal 10% of damage dealt. For this turn, if all base attack skills equipped are pierce skills, heal 10 SP at turn end. And this does have 1 unbreakable coin at the end.
먹이사슬 등장. 지압 및 비전에 의뢰받은 실험입니다. 팀원들은 팀장이 먹이사슬에 삼켜지더라도 공격 행동을 하지 않을 것. 이상이다.
Victim number 4 already. Oh, Mersault is the team captain. Okay. I had dispatched a clear warning to all relevant personnel they must steer clear of the abnormalities containment unit while work is in progress, as the biohazardous material the entity secretes could permeate through the barrier. Perhaps it could not be helped, as the authority to physically quarantine a section of the facility lies with the manager. Itchy. Captain. So itchy. The subject complained of the pruritus of her nape for the 27th time. I probably shouldn't scratch the itch, right, Captain? Scratching your skin to address the itchiness will not be a problem. There is no need for you to worry about the bleeding or exfoliation of your skin. Amber of the clerical staff. That is you, correct?
That's correct.
The subject complained for pruritus for the 28th time since the beginning of this interview. Primary memory retention ability remains in good condition. With that, I record 10 or more casualties have shown no changes the brain activity at the 23 hours, 6 minutes and 21 seconds mark since spore inhalation. Extrapolation. Occipital hypertrophy observed in the late stages of spore infection, henceforth the pre-hatch state, accelerates rapidly at an undetermined time since initial contact. This finding boosts the value of early egg identification in extermination protocol research by 7.1409%.
Sorry, what are you saying?
Nothing that requires your comprehension.
No, I mean, I can't seem to hear you clearly. My belly hurts.
Loss of hearing identified. This is the first recorded instance such a symptom among the casualties. Hold still. I will use a bioscanner on your abdomen.
Is that gonna make whatever this is go away?
It will not. Remove your hands from your abdomen. Lava activity observed at the 23 hours, 7 minutes and 1 second mark since spore inhalation. This instance has occurred 33% earlier compared to the average extrapolated from the pre-existing data's standard normal distribution. Slight palpitations of the occipital lobe area have been observed concurrently. The palpitation is currently traveling to this subject's auditory organ, which leads one to conjecture that it's related to the victim's hearing loss.
There's something skittering around in there.
The interval of its molting process from the instar 2 to instar 2 remains the same within margin of error.
Captain, does this guy hang out with all the time? Jacob, he was with me when it happened. Is he okay?
Okay, in what sense?
Sorry, I can't hear. That's better. It doesn't hurt as much.
Nullification of pain receptors identified. I will now post any subsequent questions in writing.
Is he okay? As in, he's not sick, right?
I drew an X on paper to relay to the victim that Jacob was indeed not sick.
That's good. I feel funny, like I'm bloated. Captain Mersault, what's up with the ego weapon?
Immediate pre-occlusion symptoms identified. Preparing for battle.
That's right. She's so close by. My queen.
It's hatching. Occlusion of entity T045-2 identified and eliminated. And the subsequent emergence of amber ordeal also identified. Eliminated. Reporting test results of conducting an interview near T0550's containment unit. While no variance in the interval between contraction and the late stage of infection has been observed, it can be said that the subject perceives the Queen at a relatively earlier point. Recording an observation of the note, the entity spoke through the victim immediately before occlusion, suggesting it has the capability to see the victim's nervous system. And... Hey, Captain. You know WIH? Another containment breach. Don't fault me, Captain. No matter what I do, whether I do good or bad, it goes apeshit. It's shit luck, that's what. The difficulty of managing the abnormality is acknowledged. However, continued shirking and offloading your suppression responsibility to other employees is inappropriate. I believe former captains should be held to a higher degree of accountability. Take a good look at these weapons the fool of a manager gave me. And say that again. Its creepy face didn't change one bit, no matter how many bullets I blasted into it. I have shared the absurdity of your weapon assignment with Mr. Chesed. It appears he has not yet found the time to pay the manager a visit. The manager? The BTC. Bunch of slackers, all of them. Well, not that I mind. The more they laze about, the more opportunities for art appreciation time I get. The dusk ordeal is still in progress. Search for other hallways to assist. Your BAH as always, Captain. Welfare team hallways are clear. As for the interview subject's corpse, it will be cremated, along with side victim Jacob's cadaver, concluding the interview. What is the meaning of your gaze? T-0450. Is it wrath? Because I killed your worker bee with the very weapon extracted from your essence? Or does it look like just another redemption or love from where you stand? I am curious, how does it all appear in your eyes? Does it appear as inscrutable as my gaze is to you? Didn't expect to get sentimental. I'll have to check my corrosion rate. However, the first order of business is completing the suppression effort. End of recording. Alright, with that out of the way, we just have the Uptie 4 to look at. So, deal 10% more damage for every spore on target to a maximum of 30. Coin power plus 1 is raised to 2. 2 bleed, raise the base power. Raise the base power. Extra damage for every spore on the target. If this unit has loyalty clash power, convert coins equal to loyalty pheromone into unbreakable coins, beginning with a final coin. At 1 or fewer spore round, reload germination. Spend a spore round by... Huh! So if for some reason you had used up all of your base rounds, but you still had buckshot rounds around, you'd still end up reloading for that. Interesting. Alright, inflict a burn count on his third shot finally. And it is actually hitting you with wide burn count there. Base power raised to 1. Deal extra damage for the attack weight beyond the number of actual targets. At 2 or few spore base round, consume 6 SP to gain 3 base round. If this unit has loyalty clash power. Attack end, reload. Convert coins equal to loyalty. 3 burn, 2 bleed, 2 bleed. Extra damage per loyalty pheromones. Inflict a burn count and 2 bleed count. Raise the base power of his evade, change it to wrath type. Coin power for every burn and bleed on the target to maximum of 3. At loyalty pheromone, heal 5 HP for every stack. Still once per turn though. On kill, gain the following effects. On kill with a base skill, gain spore round divided by 2 spore round. Oh, it's spore round the skill spent. Once per skill. Alright, with all of that dealt with, next time we're actually going to see what the Walpurgis event is like. So until then guys, take care. I'll see you all around.
거울이 책장 같으면 한 장 넘겨서 맞섰.
이 가면은 쥐는 자께서 하사해 주신 것입니다. 이 환상체는 벌굴낙 그 자체를 생명으로 형상화한 모습인 것 같습니다. 부여된 식별 코드로 보아 모종의 트라우마에서 발현하였을 것으로 생각됩니다만 주변에서 이러한 물체는 일상적으로 확인 가능하지 않았던가 싶군요.